Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast, hosted by yours truly, Misty Magdalena Grace, also known as Magical Mags. I am an abundance alchemist, helping you alchemize fear into love, pain into purpose, scarcity or lack into abundance, so that you can live your best life, your best health, your best wealth, your best relationships by trusting your best wisdom within. Please enjoy the show, like and subscribe, and leave a review if you see value in this amazing show. And feel free to stay in till the end. You may have a surprise gift waiting for you on the other side of this episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is Magdalena Grace. I'm so excited to be here today on the day before the 11/11 portal. I just want to acknowledge that if you celebrate and get into numerology like me, this is a great week and a great time for manifestation, ritual, all of that kind of stuff. If you're new to my channel, I just want to say thank you. Please like and subscribe and share this episode. It's going to be short and it's going to be sweet. And I want to talk a little bit today about one of my favorite topics. It's near and dear to my heart because I've lost many people to addiction, including a brother to alcoholism. And I've had a journey of my own with addiction and addictive behaviors. And the title today is, I can't claim this quote, and I'm so bummed. I can't remember where I heard it. In fact, I think I was driving. I was listening to an audiobook. If I find it, I will add it to the show notes later. But I discovered this quote, and it like stopped me in my tracks, like literally, like boom, there was a conscious interrupt. If you know what I'm talking about, you hear something and you're just like, you lose track of time. And it just hit me, my heart. And the phrase is, the title of this show is, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. I'm going to say that one more time. The opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. So what does that even mean? So ultimately, and I want to preface what I'm about to say, this whole episode, I'm not down on sobriety. Okay. I believe sobriety is right for the right people. I do believe it's very challenging, and I do believe it can be helpful, especially if you're like going through a detox or a rehab and you like literally can't live without these things that maybe are, impeding your progress in life, right? And even making people homeless, and, drugs and alcohol and all this kind of stuff, porn. I mean, I've seen it all. I've had clients that I've helped, overcome their addiction and their alcoholism or whatever it was. But I also know that everybody has their journey. And for some, sobriety is the only way. And I still want to say, I just support your sovereignty. The key thing for me is, as long as it's your sovereign choice, as long as it helps you step into your dharma, your true nature and purpose. A lot of what I've learned with addiction, which, oh, by the way, is connected with your energetics in the lower three chakras, specifically the root, which is your ancestral trauma and past lives and the stuff that you're innately born with, these patterning. These traumas, these wounds, abandonment and fear are usually connected to the root. Guilt is usually connected to sacral, and shame is usually connected to the solar plexus. So part of both my yogic training and my medicine training in the plant medicine realm and the frog medicine realm, they all show me, and chakra training, by the way, all of the lower three chakras is where our addiction and our patterning for addiction, our tendencies, our leanings are all down there. So until I learned that, I wasn't able to be free. You see, I was born into a certain family. And again, I chose that I was born into this family where, quote unquote, addiction and isms ran in my family. And so for me, I saw people try to do sobriety and it didn't work for them. I've seen clients attempt to do it and it didn't work for them. And a lot of it had to do with kind of like a dogma, like rules. And when you give your power away to people, places, things, rules, institutions, religion, it oftentimes comes from a brainwashing space or a place of naivete, sheeple syndrome, where you're following blindly and you just do it because your parents did it or your friends did it, or this is what society said you should do. So if you're like me, I'm a bit of a rebel. I am a bit of a rule breaker, I will admit. And for me, I was like, there has to be a better way. The success rate is so low. I've heard as low as 4% in AA and different programs. And I've seen people go in and out of rehab and struggle. It's a journey, right? It's not even so much about a destination. And what I learned for myself was that power of choice, that true nature and purpose, that sovereignty. And instead of demonizing or making these things or these people who have these struggles or challenges make them bad, that's where we run into trouble. Because even making someone bad or coming from a place of judgment, because we can never, ever, ever walk a mile in someone's shoes. I also witnessed, because I've coached over 10,000 people in health, fitness, and nutrition, and addictive behaviors, and self-sabotage, and limiting beliefs, and all this kind of stuff. First, from the body, mind, personal training, detoxification, nutritional cleanses, helping people get off of sugar addiction, get off medications, because medications, by the way, is another addiction, by the way. Supplements is another form of addiction, because if you can't live without it, you've been programmed to believe you got to pop pills every day. Well, it's no different. It's like a lot of people getting into plant medicine, they think microdosing is a forever thing. And I'm here to tell you it's not. That's just another dependency upon something outside yourself. And so ultimately, what I discovered and what I love about this quote and what was true for me and many of my clients, because I've now coached people more on the yogic chakra energy and medicine, psychospiritual space for the last 3 years, hundreds of people. I've seen that anybody who is struggling with an addictive tendency, even social media, smartphones, addiction, right? You can't live without it. Try to go a few days without your smartphone. I just took that opportunity to take the smartphones away from my participants of my retreat. And some of them were like, holy shit, that was hard, right? So at the end of the day, we become so dependent on things outside ourselves for everything. And that's where we give our power away, our sovereignty, our free will, our true choice. And so oftentimes I would see people transfer one addiction to another. They would give up alcohol, but then they would start smoking cigarettes, or they would give up cigarettes and they would start, scrolling. And I'm not even talking about doom scrolling. I don't necessarily call it doom scrolling. I just think anytime you're scrolling on your phone for more than like 5 minutes, it's probably because you're dissociating, you're shutting down, and you're distracting yourself from what you could be doing. We're addicted to consuming in this country, I think in the world, instead of creation. So when you think about creation and you're creating something, there's a connection with the creator and the created, the ideator and the idea. It's a birthing process, right? You're bringing something new into the world, which is so fun, can be sexy, can be exciting, literally can be sex and making a baby, right? But we've come into this place of giving our power away to consumption. Like I know people who are boycotting Black Friday in America. The economy is all about more, more, more. And then that means there's less connection. Since the advent of Facebook, we have Facebook depression. We have people who kill themselves over comparing themselves on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, right? Because most people are wearing masks and disconnected. So for me, what I've seen with my clients and myself is the root cause of addiction definitely came from our ancestors, and getting into that pattern of abandoning ourselves and disconnecting first from ourselves. Then we feel disconnected from others. There's that othering kind of philosophy that the Buddhists talk about. The other, we compare ourselves, we judge others, we judge ourselves in comparison to others, and we slowly, slowly isolate, dissociate, shut down, go into the hermit cave. And I have seen in my own journey, especially during the pandemic, I would drink so much alcohol because I was disconnected from my partner. I was disconnected from myself first and didn't want to deal with all of the emotions and all of the anxiety and the fear and the stuff that was bubbling up to the surface. That was like the pressure cooker of being home, right? Isolated, shelter in place. And then in our lives today, so many people are disconnected from each other because of social media instead of getting together in person, it takes effort. And so if you're struggling with addictions of any kind, could be social media, smartphone, alcohol, cigarettes, emotional eating, overeating, sex, porn, whatever it is, even honestly being addiction to being isolated and shutting down and not talking to people, that in theory makes us feel safe, but it's not healthy because we're tribal creatures. We're supposed to connect with others. So if you're struggling with any kind of addiction behavior of any kind, check in first. How is my connection with myself? How do I take care of myself? That was one of my biggest red flags. I took care of everyone else around me except for me, which was a codependency behavior. That definitely came from my childhood. It definitely came from ancestors. And then honestly, it was part of my self discovery of realizing I wasn't happy in my marriage partnership. And I see a lot of people, if they're disconnected from self, it does have a lot to do with environmental issues. And the environmental issues, the people, the places, the things are our mirror of what hasn't been healed on the inside. So again, it goes back to self. It goes back to the mirror, looking in the mirror and asking yourself, what emotions, thoughts, feelings are bubbling up inside of me that I'm trying to avoid? The other thing that I had discovered for me is there was this certain level of dogma and demonization and judgment that I carried first, but had been projected upon me by others in society, family members, because again, I had lost a brother to alcoholism. So there was a big judgment around alcohol, period. There's a lot of people who say, oh, I'll never drink alcohol. That's bad. That's a sin. Demonization. And most of our ancestors worked with alcohol as a spirit, as a way to commune, as a way to celebrate, victory, birthday parties, joyous occasions. You know, you have a baby, you pop a bottle of champagne, but somewhere along the way, there's always going to be someone who takes it too far, right? And then because of what's going on inside of them, they develop a toxic relationship with alcohol. But you can develop a toxic relationship with a person just as well. Before I was married, I never had any issues with alcohol. Granted, I did have issues with sugar, so that's just one more element I want to bring into in this short episode today, is we can have predisposition for addictive behaviors later in life that started in childhood because that's when our brain is forming. So again, we're 60% energy beings, 30% mind, 10% body. So I'm going to put the 60% energy on the shelf because we sort of already talked about that. That's the trauma, that's the psychospiritual, that's the chakras, that's what's going on with you energetically that you cannot see. But the body mind piece, the 40%, that's where our brain, like mine, I had a lot of childhood issues. And so I coped with sugar, and TV. Those are my two addictions. Now, what's replaced that for a lot of kids is gaming and apps and social media, right? It's just not TV anymore. And so that body mind connection, I was predisposed to want to find a dopamine hit or a lot of dopamine to numb out the brain, to shut the brain off, to not feel the body. So I was predisposed for that. And I've known people who were super healthy and super clean, even in their childhood, who later still became addicts of something to escape, to numb, to check out. And that was the 60% of the energy component. So I'm sharing all of this because as we head into seasonal affective disorder, sad season, winter, actual days are getting shorter, nights are getting longer. It's a thing. A lot of people struggle between Halloween and usually Valentine's Day, sometimes even later, depending on what part of the world you're in. Because this is a time of temptation, right? The time to eat, to drink, and be merry and or be miserable. Go to a holiday party with your family, you don't really want to see your family. Maybe you have a religion wound like I did, and you started to hate the holidays because it was all about Jesus is the reason for the season, or this, that, or the other thing. And it didn't resonate with me anymore. However, my family of origin or all of these other people that had been my friends and my community, right, we're tribal creatures, I felt outcasted. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt alone, and therefore I isolated myself and I just drank and ate more. and gained 40 pounds over a period of time. And this was even before the pandemic. So I'm not even blaming the pandemic, although that was a great impetus for me to go even deeper into the darkness of my own numbing and escapism. So I'd like to bring these things up because it's so important to have grace and compassion and curiosity for yourself. So I invite you, the next time you reach for a drink or a cigarette or something and you've had a lot already, or it's become a daily thing and now you're starting to wonder, oh my God, and you're judging yourself like, oh, what if I have a problem? What if I'm, insert whatever label here? I've been there and I've helped so many people. You didn't get there overnight. You could do the cold turkey thing. I have seen that work. But a lot of times you're using willpower and you're white knuckling and forcing something, which can lead to more shame, guilt, and a self-fulfilling prophecy of falling off the wagon, so to speak. So I would check in with your connection. Connection with self. Are you being honest with yourself about all of the areas of your life? Are you being honest with the relationships in your life? How authentic are you? Are you like I was, wearing a bunch of masks so I could be about as disconnected from my true self, my true nature and purpose, not living in my dharma, not living in my truth? Because here's the deal, you could give up whatever the thing is. Granted, if you have a food addiction, you really can't give that up. And if you have a sex addiction, sex, food, and water are actually part of our human needs. And so ultimately, you still got to have these things to not only survive, but thrive and be healthy humans, as well as I believe we're all human and divine, but that's another conversation for another day. So again, check in with those connections with yourself and others. Maybe you need more community. Maybe you get to hire someone to help you work through your shadows, like someone like myself or a therapist. Maybe, just maybe, if you're interested, I have a microdosing sale. Depending on when you catch this, the 11/11 portal is tomorrow. This is a great time to manifest, to call in and focus and create what you want. Again, if you're focused too much on consumption of social media, alcohol, food, whatever it is, porn, then it takes a lot of energy. It takes away from your ability to create. So think of those words. I got the 4 C's. I've got connection. How's your connection with yourself and others? How can you be curious about your addictive tendencies or behaviors? What is your consumption like of all of these things? Is it escaping consumption? Is it numbing out consumption? Is it disconnection consumption? And what if you could create something instead of consume? What if you could create something instead of consume? Whether it's connecting with a hobby. I got back into singing. I got back into doing more stuff with my kids. I got back into connecting with friends at a deep, authentic level. I got back to the number one thing I recommend is connecting with yourself deeply, crying, holding yourself through a challenge, being able to journal, being able to meditate, to go within, as within, so without. The only way you can change is actually going inside truly. And usually you can't do that kind of stuff on your own. So again, find help when in doubt, reach out. So that's the end of the story today. I just really wanted to come in because I heard that quote a couple weeks ago and it's just been my drumbeat. The opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. And of course, if you choose sobriety, that's fantastic, whatever that sobriety is, whether it's you're going to never get on social media again, whether you're never going to drink alcohol again or never going to smoke again, that's totally your sovereign choice. The tricky part is, though, sometimes that can make us feel really righteous and pious and better than, and oh, I did the right thing. I was the good girl or the good boy, right? But underneath that is trauma. Underneath that is stuff that you really, really got to process. So if you heal the relationship with yourself and the connection with yourself, you'll heal the relationship with alcohol. You'll heal the relationship with cigarettes. And one day you just may be like, I don't want it anymore. And of course, you get to choose. You are the creator of your life. You're the author of your fate. And there's a lot of gold in them. There are hills when you deep dive into the connection with yourself and face your fears, face your grief, face your shadows, face the abandonment, the shame, the guilt. What's that ever underneath? The desire to escape, the urge to numb, and the urge to just basically check out, right? So I'd love for you to leave a comment below or shoot me an email about what you liked best about today's episode. You can email me at info@magdalenagrace.com. I am going to be doing a runes reading here, back-to-back episodes to talk about the 1111 portal. So if you're sticking on the live, I'll be right back here in the next 5 minutes. And if you're interested, please feel free to sign up for a free alchemy session. I have a break free from addiction alchemy session, no strings attached, just to be able to help you unpack and dig deeper. I also have a 5-day challenge coming up for women, December 1st through the 5th, around breaking free from alcohol, cigarettes, and emotional eating. And really, if there's anything else that you're struggling with and addicted to or attached to, and just so disconnected from yourself, it could be really anything. We're going to have meditations every day. We're going to have emotional freedom technique. We're going to have breath work. We're going to go deeper into feeling your cup and feeling that connection with yourself so that you can be the change you want to see in your daily habits. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, comment below. What did you like best? What is your biggest takeaway? Is there anything that you learned or maybe heard differently? If you are struggling with any kind of addiction, I just send you so much love and compassion and understanding. And just remind you again to be curious, get curious, don't judge. And if you do judge, be curious about that. Don't guilt or shame yourself. And if someone else is guilting or shaming or judging you, that's their stuff. That's my last reminder is don't take their stuff on. I did that. I did that really, really well, unfortunately. So I know what that's about. And look at your environmental cues and who you're living with and how the 5 closest people in your life is the sum of who you become. Maybe it's also about changing relationships and letting certain people go or places go or things that are no longer serving you. So until next time, here's to your best health, your best wealth, and your best relationships by trusting that best wisdom that you have within. Bye-bye for now.